DHCP relies heavily on broadcast messages. Broadcast messages are generally limited to the subnet in which they originate and are not forwarded to other subnets. This poses a problem if a client is located on a different subnet from the DHCP server. A DHCP relay agent is either a host or an IP router that listens for the DHCP and the BOOTP client messages being broadcast on a subnet and then forward those DHCP messages to the DHCP server outside the subnet. The DHCP server sends the DHCP response message back to the relay agent, which then broadcasts them onto the subnet for the DHCP client. Using DHCP relay agents eliminates the need to have a DHCP server on every subnet in your network. To support and use the DHCP service across multiple subnets, router connecting each subnet should comply with the DHCP BOOTP relay agent capabilities that are described in the RFC 1542. To comply with this RFC and provide relay agent support, each router must be able to recognize the BOOTP and DHCP protocol messages and relay them appropriately. Because routers typically interpret the DHCP message as a BOOTP messages, a router with only BOOTP relay agent capabilities relays on the DHCP packets and any BOOTP packet sent on the network. The DHCP relay agent is then configured with the address of the DHCP server. The DHCP relay agent listens to the DHCP discover, request, and inform messages that are broadcast from the client. The DHCP relay agent then waits for a previously configured amount of time, and if there is no response, sends a unicast message to the configured DHCP server. The server then acts on the message and sends the reply back to the DHCP relay agent. The relay agent then broadcasts the message on the local subnet, allowing the DHCP client to receive it. I know this part can be a little bit tricky, but when we do the exercise that we're going to be doing on class on Thursday, we're going to understand these concepts a little bit better. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, post it on the discussion board, anything that you can contact me at any time, and I will respond to your questions. In addition to all of this terminology that we have been looking so far, we also should be familiar with the various DHCP messages type that are used by the DHCP clients and servers on a TCP/IP network. We have the DHCP discover, which is sent by clients via broadcast to locate a DHCP server. The DHCP discover message may include options that suggest values for the network address and lease duration. Then we have the DHCP offer, which is sent by one or more DHCP server to a DHCP client in response to the DHCP discover, along with the upfront configuration parameters. Then we have the DHCP request, which is sent by the DHCP client to signal its acceptance of the offered address and parameters. The client generates this message containing the address of the server from which it is accepting the offer, along with the offer IP address. Because the client has not yet configured itself with the offer parameters, it transmits the DHCP request message as a broadcast. This broadcast notifies the server that the client is accepting the offer address and also notifies the other servers on the network that the client is rejecting their offers. Also, we have the DHCP declined that is sent by the DHCP client to a DHCP server, informing the server that the offer IP address has been declined. The DHCP client will send the DHCP decline message if it determines that the offer address is already in use. After sending a DHCP decline, the client must begin the lease or renewal process back again. Then we have the DHCP pack, which is sent by the DHCP server to a DHCP client to confirm an IP address and to provide the client with those configuration parameters that the client had requested and the server is configured to provide. Besides this kind of message, we have the DHCP NAC, which is sent by the DHCP server as well to a DHCP client to deny the client's request. This might occur if the requested address is incorrect because the client was moved to a new subnet or because the DHCP client lease expired and cannot be renewed. After receiving the DHCP NAC message, the client must begin the lease or renewal process again. We also have the DHCP release that is sent by a client to a server to relinquish or release an IP address and cancel the remaining lease. This message type is sent to the server that provides the lease. And finally, we have the DHCP inform that is sent from a DHCP client to a DHCP server to ask only for additional local information or configuration parameters. The client already has a configured IP address. This message type is also used to detect unauthorized DHCP servers. The initial DHCP lease process is accomplished by using a series of exchanges between a client and a server that utilize four messages: DHCP discover, DHCP offer, DHCP request, and DHCP pack. You can remember these four steps of the DHCP lease process with the acronym DORA, D-O-R-A, for discover, offer, request, and acknowledgement. Because each DHCP lease has a finite lifetime, the client must periodically renew the lease after obtaining it. Windows DHCP clients attempt to renew the lease either at each reboot or a regular interval after the DHCP client has initialized. The lease renewal involves just two DHCP messages: the DHCP request, either broadcast or unicast, and the DHCP ACK. If a Windows DHCP client renews a lease while booting, these messages are sent through a broadcast IP packet. If the lease renewal is made while a Windows DHCP client is running, the DHCP client and the DHCP server communicate using unicast messages. A DHCP client first attempts to reacquire its lease at half the lease time, which is known as T1. The DHCP client obtains the value of T1 from the DHCP pack message that confirms the IP lease. If the lease reacquisition fails at the T1, the DHCP client attempts a further lease renewal at 87.5% of the lease time, which is known as T2. Like T1, T2 is specified in the DHCP ACK message. If the lease is not reacquired before it expires, the client immediately releases the IP address as soon as the lease expires and attempts to acquire the new lease.